Carl Dukes along with Brian Baldinger, and we are going to bring in our man, Jason Lacanfora. This is In the Huddle. And of course, we ask you to subscribe, like us, follow us on YouTube at In the Huddle Pod. You can watch us each and every week. It's been a fun season. And as we count down, Baldy, and we get Jason to get ready to come in here, he's covered the Ravens. And I want to start with your breakdown of Lamar because I thought it was kick-ass. Because these are the kind of things that we talked about in the offseason with, is he going to get better at? Is he going to develop under Todd Monken? And now that they have the number one seed, and for those who missed it, go check out Baldy's breakdowns. He does it and has been doing it all season long. He's put one out there with Lamar, and he's talking about how he manipulated the defense and then ultimately makes a great throw down the field. Baldy, why is he able to do this? Why has Lamar been able to do these kinds of things?
You know, I've been thinking about that, Carl. It's a great question. It really is. And to me, like I'm going to go a little bit off course here. But if you look at some of the great soccer players, if you look at some of the great basketball players, they didn't come up through AAU. They didn't come up through, the programs. There's a part of a freelance to Lamar's game that can't be taught at 7-on-7 drills. That can't be taught by programming quarterbacks at all these different camps. There's a freelance to Lamar's game like there was to Lionel Messi's game in soccer, to how Michael Jordan played. Some of these guys just played the game. And so like the play that I put out there, and it was confirmed by Javon Holland, that it threw him off as a safety on the play, that Lamar pulled out to his left like he actually stole the play from the Miami Dolphins, where they dragged Zay Flowers across the formation like it was Tyreek Hill. Like he's been running this play for the last 2 years. And then he goes down the sideline at full speed, and then he either goes straight, he stops, he runs a dig route. So Lamar actually pulled out to his left like he was a left-handed quarterback. And it got Miami almost looking like they're looking at two in practice. And then at the last second, he flipped his feet and he threw it 75 yards to Zay. Now, that's something Lamar came up with that. That's not something, hey, let's try this. That's Lamar. That's his level of thinking about, I think we can maybe trick these guys a little bit. But at the same time, the deep passing game is now in Baltimore. You saw the Zay Flowers shot, half-field read, Odell Beckham Jr., Zay Flowers screaming down the field to hit Zay for 25, hit Zay for 75. It was a short passing game, and as we welcome in Jason here, it was a short passing game, long runs early in the year, but it has gradually evolved where they are now attacking mid-level and deep at the same time, and they're connecting. And now this thing is full on. This passing attack is legit. You have to take it serious. And if Lamar wants to take off, which he looks reluctant to do, he can. If he wants to step up in the pocket and really pressure the defense, he will. And if he wants to take his shots with dead accuracy, he's doing that. He's the most improved player at that position in the league right now.
It's In the Huddle, guys. Obviously, Jason Lacanfora joining us here. Subscribe, like us. Jason talking about Lamar, and we've talked about how you cover this team and are close to it. What's different between Greg Roman and what Todd Monken has done there? What's the difference?
There's a lot. The quarterback's empowered now. The quarterback plays the game through his eyes, not really through Greg's eyes. There's a whole lot more autonomy in terms of what he can check in and out of, what he can do at the line of scrimmage. They still run the ball a fair amount for sure, but they run it differently. It's not as much option stuff, not as many quarterback design runs, and then the way Lamar is facilitating the mesh point has changed. He's keeping it himself a lot less. And while they're still running it with the same volume, it's almost like they run it when they have to. They pass it when they want to, which is the exact opposite of what they were before. The goal of the 2019 Ravens seems to be run yourself into third and short and then have the ability to do whatever you want to do. This Todd Monken Ravens team is we're going to do whatever we want to do in the passing game on first down, and then we'll adjust accordingly. And you can just go to this Miami game and see, guys, Lamar Jackson passing on first down against the Miami Dolphins, 12 of 13, 194 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 158.3 rating. The one incompletion was the bomb to Rashad Bateman to start the game. Bateman got both hands on it. Could it have been thrown a little better? Possibly. It's also a catch a lot of guys make. If you do, then Lamar's 13 of 13 for 230 yards, 3 touchdowns, and still the perfect quarterback rating. Lamar Jackson play action passing on first down in that game. 8 and 9, 155, 2 touchdowns, 158.3 rating. It would have been 9 for 9 if Rashad Bateman catches that same pass we're just talking about. I mean, I think that crystallizes it. Like, they were not throwing the ball on first down in 2019, and they certainly weren't airing the ball out and play action on first down in 2019.
All that stuff is spot on true, Jason. And the numbers are the numbers, Carl. But what really elevates Lamar over everybody else in his business right now is we don't talk about Mark Andrews anymore. We don't talk about the fact that Ronnie Stanley and Patrick McCarry are rotating at left tackle, or Daniel Falele is playing right tackle, or they played without, different offensive linemen throughout the year. They've lost, the most explosive running back. That they've lost a number. Nobody talks about what they've lost. Yeah, nobody's talking about anything. That Melvin Gordon can come in off the street and play. So nobody's talking and everybody else, everywhere else, everybody's talking about the injuries, and that's why things are struggling. Not in Baltimore. We don't even mention it. Now, obviously, we see Mark Andrews on the sideline last week, and he's a part of the team, and I don't want to dismiss Mark. But Isaiah Likely has stepped up, and Charlie Kolar is catching passes. That's the function of a great quarterback, is you don't notice the losses quite as much as you do in other places when the quarterback isn't playing at that level.
It's a great point. Baldy, Brian Baldinger, Jason Lock-on-4, Carl Dukes, guys, it's in the huddle. We're back together and, of course, counting down to the start of the playoffs. Baldy, let's talk about Shane Steichen and his offense with Indianapolis. The Eagles struggling. Jason and I talked a little bit about this on Tuesday and what's going on with Nick Sirianni. And then you see Shane Steichen, and he's doing this with Gardner Minshew, right? He's doing it with backup running backs and all this stuff. And now they find themselves in a game where if they win, they're going to be in the playoffs, and they're playing for something significant on Saturday night, guys, against the Houston Texans. Talk to me about that, and then we'll talk about the Texans.
Well, I said when Nick Sirianni lost both Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon last year, I was in Dallas when we would lose coordinators every year. And I said when it happened this year that it's more difficult to replace great coaches than it is great players. And we're seeing that. And I'm not saying that's the whole reason for the demise of the Eagles. But Shane Steichen has an ability to shift when things aren't working right. Jonathan Gannon showed the ability to be able to make certain shifts when the linebackers weren't playing well. They didn't build this team the right way. They shouldn't have let TJ Edwards go. They probably should have let James Bradbury go. There's certain things, when corners can't really run anymore, there's certain things that you should do. TJ Edwards in Chicago, he never comes off the field like he did in Philadelphia. But that's that. There's a number of reasons. But I think these coaches that the Eagles lost have made a big difference in empowering the quarterback, fixing the quarterback, balancing the run game, which is imbalanced right now in the pass game. It's showing up on the field right now.
Jason, what do you think?
I think, to amplify Baldy's point, the brain drain, the next man up in Philadelphia has not been as adroit and as adept at the weekly reinvention that's kind of required in this league based on the matchups. They just haven't been. And I don't know if the players have the same belief in this scheme or what's being asked of them from week to week as they did last year when there were different lieutenants running the offense and the defense. And the Colts deserve a lot of respect, and Steichen deserves a lot of respect for what they've done there. And this could be an interesting matchup with the Texans. The first meeting, for whatever it's worth, and obviously a lot's changed since then, but that was CJ Stroud's coming out party, guys, really, right? Like he week one, I'm like, he looks the part against the Ravens, but that's a tough ask, your first game on the road at Baltimore. And then he throws for 384 against these guys. I think Nico Collins had 5 catches of 23 yards or more himself in that game. Tank Dell, who's not available now, went off in that game. And I really think, Baldy, the matchup for me is this Colts defensive front that tends to generate a lot of pressure. But, man, I don't know if they turn it into the kill shots, right? The drive-ending stuff that they need to turn it into. That they can't 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi to Stroud. I think that's the ball game if that's what it is.
You know, it was a big difference last week. Pittman came back for the Colts on offense. He's their legitimate number 1 target. So Pierce is their number 2, and then their tight ends. So they missed him against Atlanta. Watching C.J. Stroud come back last week after 2 weeks out, like you go, okay, why is he so good? And you go, you watch this guy's because there's an urgency that every quarterback has to play with. Some look like they panic in urgency, and some are just naturally urgent, meaning you could go from number 1 to number 2, number 3 like this, and the feet move and the eyes move, and it's a dart of a throw. And then Nico Collins came out of nowhere to be a legit number 1 receiver. Big target, can run every route, and he gets fed. Watching C.J. Stroud play last week, it was just a joy. Going, this league needs this level of quarterback so badly. And I think he's going to show up on Saturday night. I think C.J. understands the moment. He's been in that building before. This guy plays this game the way you have to play the game. And it's not – there's nothing forced or anything about it. You lose Laramie Tunsil last week, nobody even noticed. You're playing with your backup right tackle, nobody noticed. And defensively, I remember this week, guys, I was watching Philadelphia's defense, and I was throwing things at the screen out of frustration going, does anybody care? Does anybody have any urgency? Does anybody want to defeat a block? Anybody want to make a tackle? Then I watched the Texans play defense, and I go, what are they on? What is Demeco feeding these guys? That every single guy plays the game full metal jacket. They're a fun defense to watch. This is going to be a fantastic game. It's a playoff game, literally a playoff game. And it's going to be played at a playoff atmosphere.
Baldy, it's funny you say that about the Texans because one of the first games of the season was Ravens-Texans.
Yeah.
And I spoke with some of the guys with the Ravens organization, and they told me after that game, Dukes, Texas is really good defense. And that was like week 1, week 2. And I was like, eh. And they were like, no. They've got a really good young team that gets after it. And as the season progressed, and this gets back to Nick Kostos, who I gave a lot of crap to, Jason. I mean, listen, the Texans were a blank show, but the best thing he did was bring in Demeco Ryans, right? It just completely changed, and they drafted correctly. Those first 2 draft picks, they got it right. But it completely changed the complexion of that organization from where it was, and it wasn't all Nick Kostos' fault. But my point, guys, is that defense has been playing lights out pretty much all season when you talk about how good they've gotten to this point.
You know, when I look at this defense and the construction of it, yes, they drafted Jalen Petrie and Stingley, a couple guys. But it's Denzel Perriman, it's Jerry Hughes, it's Sheldon Rankins, Tyre Tart, who got cut from Tennessee, is in there playing. Like, it's just castaways that everybody gave. Blake Cashman, it's just castaways everybody gave up on. And I can almost feel Demeco's vibe going, guys, I'm going to give you a chance here to show everybody else that Steve Nelson, you should be playing in Philly. You should be in – like, all these guys are getting a great chance. And I feel like they're taking advantage of what Demeco's given them. And to go with some good young talent, Jonathan Greener's a good young player. You can look at guys that they've drafted and developed. That's going on too. But there is a secondary level of castaways that are being galvanized by this second, third, fourth opportunity for some of these guys.
Well, you can't run on them. That's for damn sure, Baldy, right? Like, I mean, it's historic.
Derrick Henry doesn't want to see him. That's for sure.
No, and that used to be 200 yards and 3
yards.
touchdowns. Yeah, that was fantasy football championship every time he played them. Like, whoever had Derrick Henry against the Texans, forget about it. He's winning the week. Like, they've changed their spots up front. No 2 ways about it.
Guys, why are the Rams dangerous? Now, they play San Francisco. Baldy, we know Stafford's not playing. You said, I think the phrase was what they value health over – what's the phrase? Health over
seedings.
Seedings. Yeah. So They don't care what happens because they're in. San Francisco's already clinched the number 1 seed. But why are the Rams dangerous? I want to talk just a little bit about this before we get to the playoffs because I think you and Jason are on the same page with this Rams team.
Well, okay, a couple things. One, the Rams don't care who they play. The Rams feel like wherever they have to go and whoever they play, it doesn't matter. Like Jason saw them in Baltimore, 5 weeks ago, and they put up 31 points. They lost in overtime on a punt return, and they played great. Kyron Williams ran the ball the way you have to run the ball against that defense. Stafford made stick throws. He made some freelance throws. He makes these spot throws, the one in the corner of the end zone to Cooper Kupp. You can't defend it any better, but the throw beat the coverage. So they've fixed their offensive line. Okay, this Steve Avila is, nobody's going to root for a left guard as the rookie of the year, but he plays like that level. And then they fixed the line. Lamar Jackson, Coleman Shelton, picking up Mason. Havenstein's been a great player. The running game is legit. Right now, Kyron leads the NFL in rushing yards per game, number 1. And then what Puka has done to go with everything else. And you got a great coach on the sideline. And then you look defensively at the development of Kobe Turner and Byron Young, and some of these young players that are playing. And they have won 6 of their last 7. I think they can go anywhere and beat anybody. They're just that good, and they execute that well. And really, the quarterback at this probably stage of his career probably could use a week off just to rest the arm and to come back and be razor sharp. And so I applaud them. And honestly, San Francisco is in the same position. Now, can you get to the same level of execution that you have demonstrated? They struggled a little bit against the Giants. Interceptions showed up. But this is a dangerous football team because they can run the ball and protect their quarterback.
As we talk about these playoff scenarios, win and you're in. Obviously, Buffalo, Miami, guys. Buffalo at Miami. It's the Sunday night game. And if Buffalo wins, obviously they win the division again. I didn't expect them to be here, guys. 5 weeks ago, I did not expect the Bills to be here. So here they are, and here Miami is coming off of this blowout loss against the Ravens. And you go, what's going to happen Sunday night? Jason?
I think the Buffalo Bills are going to win this football game. I don't know that it's going to be all that pretty. But Josh Allen has had Miami's number his entire career. And if you dig pretty deep, he's had Vic Fangio's number. Even some, Fangio's defenses at Denver, like he's put up 324, 360. Against the Dolphins, he's had like at least 250 yards passing, at least 40 yards rushing in every game he's played against them. He absolutely eviscerated them earlier this year. And again, you can't go too crazy about that stuff. The league changes from week to week, let alone from month to month. However, this Miami defense is not nearly as healthy now as it was then. And he kind of got a good look at their best 11 and shredded them. I think the Miami injury concerns now have reached critical mass. Like, they're without both of their edge pass rushers. And you think of what they do in terms of pressure, but they're also amazing athletes with a lot of length and reach, right? And long levers. Those are the dudes who keep Josh Allen hemmed in. I mean, this is a Josh Allen playoff game. Josh Allen wants to run for 120 yards on them. Guess what? They're going to have a hard time stopping. I don't love Buffalo's passing game, Baldy. Like, as the run game has gotten better, they pass less. The efficiency in the pass game's dropped off even more. Stephon Diggs, I really don't know exactly what his role is. They got the 2 tight ends back. Has there been a game where they both look like a thing? Like, the 12 personnel package isn't doing anything for me. It's there if they need it. But I just feel like Buffalo's been playing playoff games for 6 weeks, to your point, Carl. They've won pretty much all of them. They're no longer into the box score. They're no longer into any of the sexiness of their offense. They're just into finding ways to win games. And I think they're healthier than Miami. I think they're a little more battle-tested than Miami. What's Miami's biggest win? Dallas at home? Like, I just feel like this is a spot where Buffalo does the job, Baldy.
There's something about Florida players when they come back to Florida. It's like it's like a magic dust in their shoes. Like James Cook is coming back to Miami. Now, obviously, him and Dalvin grew up here. You watch what James Cook does against the defense, who's been pretty good against the run. Zach Sealer and Christian Wilkins have been outstanding. They're getting Jerome Baker, I think, back at middle linebacker, which can help. Here's what I think of. I think Buffalo's going to win the game as well. And in large part because of the shift in the emphasis on the run game, including Josh Allen, but James Cook and the offensive line, Gerald, Deion Dawkins going to the Pro Bowl, deservedly so. However, I do think Miami, I almost think this, if they get in the playoffs, if they get Mostert, Achane, Waddle, and Tyreek healthy, if they get them all healthy, that is a difficult offense to stop. And to me, I almost feel like Mike McDaniel should say to hell with it. Just get these guys is rested and get ready to go on the road and go play a playoff game with your 4x400 meter relay team healthy. And I feel like I don't think defensively you can ask Vic Fangio to do a lot with a lot of backups out there right now. I feel like this is a team that has to go score 35 and go win playoff games, and they're capable of doing it.
Baldy, Jason, I'm not impressed with what I've seen as of late with Jacksonville. They have a must-win game on Sunday against Tennessee. And I'm not sure what's going on with Doug Peterson. I get it. Baldy, you said the injuries, it's affecting everybody. But you've got to be able to overcome that. Why am I not feeling good about Jacksonville? I think probably they win this game, but hell, the way they've played the last few weeks, I just don't know what to expect Sunday against Tennessee and Mike Vrabel, who is going to have his team ready to play.
Well, here's the thing, because everybody's going to say this, win and you're in. You got all the motivation. Motivation is fine. Execution is better. What you need is real execution. And that's what's lacked in this team. They get behind the sticks. They don't convert third downs. They're getting out the field. They turn the ball over. Yes, Josh Allen's going to the Pro Bowl, and Trayvon Walker looks like a better player than he did a year ago, and all that kind of stuff. That's fine. Those are numbers. But can you stop teams when you got to stop them? And they haven't been able to do that. And so they have to show. I think to your point, Carl, and maybe Jason, you can back this up with some numbers or some other research, whatever. But they have to show us that walk on the field in Nashville on Sunday and show us that you're a division winner, that you're ready to defend your, win a playoff game at home the following week. Show us what kind of team you are. And we'll forget about maybe the blowout loss against the 49ers and some of these disasters that we saw down the stretch.
Yeah, I just don't know who they are. I don't know what they're particularly good at. Baldy, you mentioned, they've got some young pass rushers. And, some games the pass rush is dominant. But it's not like they're putting the quarterback on his ass all the time and they're winning games, 28-7. No, they're in all these shootouts. So how good can the defense be? You can run on them some if you want to. They don't run the ball. They run the ball with volume, but not with efficiency. And the quarterback, I don't know. I've been talking to people about the quarterback. I'm going to write about him this week at the Washington Post. He's obviously a really good football player, but dude, he was a 1-1 who they put up there. He was supposed to be Andrew Luck. He's supposed to be Peyton Manning. Guys, these are the NFL leaders this year in combined sacks and takeaways. Sam Howell, 82, Bryce Young, 74, Zach Wilson, 60, Russell Wilson, 58, Trevor Lawrence, 54. Trevor Lawrence has only played 13 games.
Wow.
He doesn't run as much as he probably needs to, right? Given where he is in his development. He had an 8-game stretch last year where I felt like it was all coming together, and that was going to be the launching off point for this year. That hasn't been the case. Ball placement accuracy has been hit or miss. He and Calvin Ridley, it takes 12 passes to Calvin Ridley to get him to catch 5. I just don't know. Baldy, what are they really, really good at? What's their identity? What can they lean into? When times get tough, who do they become to find a way to win a drive, to find a way to win a game? I don't know what that is. And it's freaking January.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm not buying them. I'm not. They've got it. Baldy said it. They got to show up Sunday. They got to show me as I watch that game play out who they are and what they're about. It's In the Huddle, guys. Subscribe, like us, tell your friends, watch us on YouTube at In the Huddle Pod. Brian Baldinger, Jason Lock-on-4, I'm Carl Dukes. We will dive deeper into these playoff matchups once we know what they are moving forward as we count down to the Super Bowl. I got to ask you guys one more thing before we get out of here. Chicago, Green Bay. I'm looking at this at Chicago and I'm saying, if Justin Fields goes into Green Bay and wins, does that definitively make their decision about keeping him and building around him or maybe moving on? And then the other side is Jordan Love. If he wins, obviously Green Bay is in. They're a 3-point favorite, and I just think there's so many angles to this Bears-Green Bay game for the last week of the season, Baldy.
Chicago's a really good football team, and they've been a good team, and now they're winning games. And, it doesn't matter if it's a snow game like it was against Atlanta. Like, they show up. And, they got 2 Pro Bowl players, Montez Sweat and Jalen Johnson, and they deserve to be. But there's a lot of other really good players. This defense, I don't know that any defense has improved more since the start of the season. I've watched them every week. Offensively, Luke gets it. And this offense is now very difficult to defend. They can run the ball the way you got to run the ball. I formation, tough runs, short yardage, goal line. They can run the ball. It's far more than when Justin Fields would scramble and you get a good run total at the end of the game. They can legitimately run the ball. And now they know how to move Justin Fields on play action, on bootlegs, on rollouts. Like, it's just the right feel for it right now. This is going to be a fantastic game because I think both these teams are being built the right way. Yeah. And as much as if Jim Harbaugh wins this championship game on Monday night and he wants to come to the NFL and there'll be a push to go put him in Chicago and draft Caleb Williams and for the next 10 years, that's what you get. There's a lot to like about that decade, what it might look like. But are you willing to rip this up, this development, where you can win it? You can see it with the eye test. You can see it in the performance. They're toe-to-toe with Detroit right now. We know Detroit's a good team. Like, they are building something really, really good, and they've got assets to add to it. I can't wait to see and watch this game this weekend. It's going to be phenomenal because what Jordan Love did last week, Green Bay struck gold again in my eyes. Like, they've got their guy, and he is the guy. And these young players around him, I didn't think they could win this young, this early, but they are. Jason?
I think it's a hell of a football game. I'm completely with you, Baldy, and trying to handicap this game. I feel like these teams are dead even. And so I'll go ahead and take those points because I'm not sure Lambeau is worth 3 points against this Bears team. Because to your point, this Bears team, they're not built to any particular climate or environment. I think their style of play plays anywhere. And yeah, the defense since the middle of the season and now it's complete. It's 2 different things. It's a different species. In terms of the quarterback, I think it will. The financial component will always plays a role. Yep. And I also feel like if Justin Fields keeps doing what he's doing, what you get in return for Justin Fields now goes up and up and up and up. And like Atlanta's going to be in on this. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be in on this. I think the Las Vegas Raiders are going to be in on this. Like, there's going to be a number of teams who feel like we're Justin Fields away from going from middling, to quasi-contender to boom. We can play with the big boys.
I agree.
And I think the combination of them being blown away by these other quarterbacks through the draft process, because, Baldy, it's all scripted. Like, if Caleb Williams looked, if he was what he was on film, when he's throwing against air to his boys in Southern California on a beautiful day, guess what? And he's going to have an agent by then. And he's going to have the answers for why he cried with his mom. Like, all that shit's going away. And it's going to be like, do we want this kid for $5 million a year? You know what I mean? Or whatever it ends up being.
No, I know
it's
finances. It's finances.
Yeah. So, like, do we want him for $8 million a year? Or do we want to spend all offseason banging heads with Justin Fields and trying to figure out what that extension looks like? Or do we go ahead and take the 1 and the 3 for Justin Fields, draft this kid, draft Marvin Harrison or whatever, or left tackle with the second 10th overall or whatever, and boom. So I think it, and also, are they keeping what is Kevin Warren doing? Their team president, is it status quo or is something changing in the front office or somewhere in that organization? But they've come a long way. There's no 2 ways about it. And I have not been bullish on the Bears in forever. I've thought they were a fake-ass team for a long time. Because from the top down, from ownership on down, they hadn't built it right. And they've turned the corner in a lot of ways.
Yep.
And they deserve some credit for that. Took a long time, a lot of regimes, but I got to give Matt Eberflus a lot of credit. I was ready to write that thing off in October and just say this is garbage.
Yeah.
You can't give up 26 points every week, no matter who you face. And they've tightened it up significantly.
This is why we love the NFL, guys. It's week 18, and we have games that matter. Meaningful game. We're not tuning out. We're not watching games on Sunday or Saturday night. All of this is why we love it, and it's why we're here, and we are glad that you guys are here hanging out with us. Make sure you subscribe. As we leave you, just a couple of things. Dallas owns the tiebreaker against Philly, which means if they win the NFC East. Philly starts the playoffs on the road. That's big. Rams have won 6 of 7. We talked about no Stafford. Momentum, guys, heading into the playoffs. Steelers still alive after beating Seattle last week. I mean, these are all things we're watching, and we're coming back next week talking about how it all plays out. Jags, Colts, Texans all have a chance. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. So appreciate you guys being here. Jason, follow him. Read him in the Washington Post, and thanks for making my life a living hell with those Arthur Smith comments, by the way. And Baldy, check out Baldy's breakdowns, guys. We expect to see you guys on Tuesday, and we'll be talking about how this all plays out, and we will know what these matchups look like. Guys, have a great weekend. Enjoy the games. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Carl. Thanks, Jason.